Demonic Angel here again tonight, and after the wrap-up of my three-part series on the astral plane, I decided to get back and do a video on tarot, and then I have a big surprise coming next. I'm really excited about it. So tonight I want to do the number 16 card of the major arcana, the Tower. And basically, you know, kind of talk about it upright and reversed, and how it could be looked at in a love reading or work related and stuff. But of course, what comes to mind is that, you know, it's one of the cards that people just don't really want to get. They don't want to get the Death card or the Tower or, you know, the Nine of Swords or something, but it's not about, you know, there's no such thing as bad cards. They're all this process we have to go through. So with the number 16, here, you know, we're moving along on the Fool's journey in the tarot, and he's, you know, there's two people, right, that have leapt from the Tower, and a lot of people kind of look at it like, you know, how it was just the devil in the previous card. Well, it's those two people in the Tower now, and basically, the thing with the Tower card here is that okay, like there's the clouds in the background and it's very dark and ominous looking. So there's so many warning signs. First off, like the two people, they ignored all the signs about impending disaster. And of course, they built the Tower on top of this sort of isolated, you know, hill. And that's kind of because they built this as their fantasy world. And when I say they, I really like to look at it as this is one person. This is the male is the subconscious, or I'm sorry, the conscious part of the individual, and the female is the subconscious, and it's, you know, the battle between these two in this card. And it's come to a head, and that is why you look at them as two people in this card, because the tension between the conscious and the subconscious has come to a head. So you know, like this person has to battle it out to become whole again. And the 10 little flames to the one side of the Tower, they represent the 10 points on the tree of life, and then the 12 little lightning bugs on the other side represent the 12 signs of the zodiac. So it's basically meaning that even in this crisis, there is divinity, and this is part of the Fool's journey once again, and even part of chaos, the part of the you know, that aspect of losing control. There's still, this is meant to be. So, and of course with lightning, like lightning, you can't predict. That's the idea here, and this is the gods. This is the spirits, and it's like, of course, with the previous cards where, you know, now it was just the devil. After something like an addiction, mental slavery to a certain thing, you know, addiction in any kind of form of obsession, attachment, regular addiction. The next thing is the tower, where it's all got to come apart, and there's just got to be chaos, and it, you know, there's still divinity within this, but you know, the whole loss of control. If you're going to lose yourself to this lose the addiction, and you're going to leave that card or that stage of individuation behind, now you've got to jump out the window. And that's what the two people, they leap from the tower because it's burning. And of course the tower is something that they've built. It's this false sort of safety, and it's away from everybody. And of course when we say they, this is kind of like the couple of different aspects of the same person. So they're, you know, here they are in their own world that they've built. And this can be like, in a reading, for example, somebody who's built their life and look at it materialistically, or, you know, somebody coming out of addiction, all these false friends that they have around. And so it is that intervention by the gods, that this can, if this is not going to continue anymore, it's all got to come apart. And it definitely doesn't have to specifically do with addiction. This is just going to be some kind of dramatic crisis. You know, so it like the person who gets bad news that like their father's passed away, but now they can afford to pay their bills, and you know, they were just about to be put out of their home. So yeah, it's a very hard thing to go through, but you know, they're going to be able to stay in their home. Or, you know, another dramatic example is, you know, a guy who loses his corporate job, and then he starts going out in the woods at night because he just has lost his mind. And there he finds himself, and he finds that that material life wasn't just everything. It's like that was his tunnel vision, and now he sees the other realities, and he sees the spiritual. And so that is definitely the energy of the tower. It's this dramatic idea, okay? So the man and the woman have, of course, jumped from the tower. And the crown, there's not a crown on the man's head, but there is, you know, right there at the top of the tower. That's because it's fallen off of his head, and he, the male, is the conscious mind. So this conscious way, this you know, like materialism and addiction and falsehoods, like I said, anything along those lines, fake friends, is not working out. The conscious part of the mind was the biggest problem, right? So this has to be, that's why he lost his crown, She, the subconscious, did not. She's falling, but she still has her crown. And the reason that she still has her crown is because she's subconscious. She is a woman, and the subconscious mind knows that when there's an issue, is what I guess I'm saying here. And so when a person is living this lifestyle of any kind of thing that's not working out for them, and their subconscious mind fights against it. In these examples that I mentioned of addiction, or they're in a relationship they don't want to be in, and they put up, a facade that they do not really identify with. They work a job they don't like. The subconscious mind, it's not saying that it's starting to take over, or that but this is the subconscious mind still having its crown and connected to divinity, because it's come to a head with the conscious mind, and she, it's got to come back together, so it's got to fall. Both of them have to fall, but I like to look at it like, okay, she does survive. She's got her red feet in the Rider-Waite deck, of course, and it's kind of her ties to groundedness. So hey, the subconscious mind in this case is more grounded and understood that wasn't working out for the person, and has therefore, it's like that person who they experienced the addiction, and now they can't do it anymore because it brings on more nightmares, and it ruined all of their relationships, and they have that moment of realizing that, and so they leap into the unknown just like the fool did, because they know that this is they have to leave their whole life behind of their way of thinking. And I guess this might have sounded a little bit like my interpretation, and it definitely is. To just keep that in mind, and I'm just trying to work on sounding less nervous and stuff, but it's definitely a process for me. I definitely am kind of an anxious person at times. But I try to bring the tarot here to life, and I feel like I'm getting more comfortable doing this, and it means a lot to me. So yes, I like to look at it that way. So yeah, that is really the energy with this card, is this chaos, and it's necessary, and it's outside forces. So as far as you people who do give tarot readings out there, I like to do 3 to 5 card spreads out to tell the story, to connect it to the other cards. So if it's upright, this is the tarot is the warning here. So it's like telling your client here that there's going to be something in your life, and it is not going to be an easy thing to go through. And I'm not saying like somebody is going to come out of like the severe addiction, or that their family member is going to die, or they will, but it can be those things, and that's why you want to look at the other cards. But the idea here is this is for all of us to experience on the path to individuation. And this chaos is necessary, and it's a liberating force. And when the lightning strikes and the people jump, they decided to jump into the unknown. And it is a liberating force, okay? So that's the other aspect of it, this double-edged sword where you lose everything, something bad happens, something unexpected, but then also the other unexpected effects that has of, like I said, the person coming into money so they can stay in their home from a family member dying, or the man who loses his jobs and then he finds his spirituality for the first time in his life, even though he's middle-aged. So that's the real liberating key here. And so yeah, when it is upright, it's just very indicative of forces outside this person that they cannot control, because it is the God intervening. But they have brought this upon them, not upon themselves, they brought this into their karma, because there's this battle between the conscious and the subconscious. And of course, this is never to say somebody brings this about themselves, but that there's a struggle between those two, and so the self has to become whole again. And to do that, we need chaos and we need liberation here. So reversed, I definitely usually see this as more like a couple of ways for readings. The person is, they've got more of a warning and more of a hold on this, so they might be able to take some steps to lessen the dramatic aspects or the just completely, you know, devastating parts of the tower. And because if they stay grounded, and even with it being upright, the more grounded that you are, the less this is going to shock and hurt you to the point where you're ungrounded completely. So they have a grasp in some way of that, so they're going to be able to remain grounded and therefore remain in a little bit better control in this situation. It can also mean that the chaos is around that person, and so it's not directly them. Like for a client recently, I saw where in a work reading, that the chaos of work, they were just getting rid of these jobs, not her job, but the jobs within the company. So it was, you know, the tower reversed, and it's happening all around her. But this doesn't involve her directly. It's around her. So the tower energy is still there, and I said, well, you know, you want to remain grounded and, you know, logical and careful, and don't make emotional outbursts, especially right now, because it's time to remain grounded with all the chaos around you. So, you know, that's definitely part of it, that we experience the individuation of the tarot, not just directly ourselves, but through our friends and family and co-workers as well. You know, and so that is this next force, and so it's necessary, and it's, you know, eventually, of course, the self, the fool, puts himself back together and continues on to experience the individuation and the world, and that is really part of it. Just keep in mind that the sustaining divinity is always with all of us. You know, it's in the stars, it's in the tree of life, and it's scary to leap into the unknown, especially to choose to do so. And or especially like if something really bad happens to your family member or your finances, that is such a leap into the unknown, and it's not directly your choice, but it fractures you as yourself, and then you've got to put yourself back together, make the subconscious and conscious mind work together. You have to leap into the unknown again, but not like the fool, you know, in this happy way. But this is your last. This is the only way to survive, kind of, because we don't see what's down the cliff. They could be falling into water, which is my interpretation, would be that they survive, she still has her crown, and she, you know, of course the tarot continues, so that's another reason I believe that they survive. So I think that will conclude for tonight. I'm going to obviously continue with the tarot. I'm not really doing them in order, just kind of more doing the ones that I'm thinking about at the time, or that really strike me, but I'm going to go through them all. Up next, I actually went to an antique mall and found a really cool find that I was instantly connected to for lots of reasons. And I think I'm just going to do like a big unveiling of that. So yeah, I've definitely, as far as like YouTube goes, people have said, oh, you seem so nervous and stuff, and I am, and I'm trying to work on those aspects of my own self, right? But I feel more comfortable the more I do it, and it's not meant to be perfect. I'm just a chick with a camera, and this is an amateur thing for me to do. So I think I'm just going to continue to sort of let it flow, but you know, as long as I feel more and more comfortable and grounded with, you know, doing this, because I've definitely been back into it a couple weeks, then yeah, absolutely. Like, I do think this is, if nothing else, this is self-therapy and good for me. But I've put a lot of thought in. I just wanted to bring the tarot to YouTube in my own way here. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch. You know, please like, share, comment, subscribe. That really means a lot to me, and I mean, heck, you could donate to my Patreon if you feel so inspired, but you certainly don't have to. So I would stay tuned for my next video though, because it is like a really cool thing. I can't wait to bring my cool find from the antique store to you guys. Okay, I'll see you in the next video.